educators tell us that kids need to be with their peer group. Is it necessary for kids to be with lots of kids their own age?
No, no. I mean, in the first place, in the history of this country, Canada, even today in Alaska, even today in the central part of Australia, there are tens of thousands of families, maybe hundreds of thousands, who live 30, 40, 50 miles away from the nearest family. And nobody's ever produced a speck of evidence that children growing up in these circumstances are hurt by the experience. Not a speck. So there's no reason to believe that being surrounded by a crowd of people exactly your age is a kind of essential human experience. It's a very artificial experience. Nobody grew up that way until the last century. It's mostly kind of administrative convenience that makes it handy to shovel a whole bunch of kids of one age into one room. You all use the same textbook, and the teacher only has to prepare one lesson plan. But it has very little to do with human growth or psychology or anything else. Even the schools themselves, when I was a kid 50 years ago, would never have talked about socializing as an important reason for school. No self-respecting educator would have thought of such a thing. School is for learning, not socializing. This is a recent story that's been cooked up mostly because it's so obvious that not very many people are learning much.
So are you saying that a child will develop socially okay at home, even though he's away from kids his own age?
Well, but most of them, yes, I am saying that, even if we're out in the middle of Australia. Now, most kids who are homeschooled are not away from other kids. There are a whole range of child activities, even in quite small communities, that are not school-based. So you have 4-H and Boy and Girl Scouts and counterparts in church groups and musical groups and sports groups. There are lots and lots of ways for kids to see other kids without having to go into the inside of a school building.
Okay, but the academics would be learned at home.
Well, at home and around the home, and you know.
Okay, well, how do kids live with the teachers? Is it the parent that teaches the child at home? Is that the best way?
Well, your question is a very important one because it throws a light on one of the most common and mistaken notions about teaching and learning. And that is that knowledge is a substance, a kind of a liquid. And teaching is the act of pouring it out of a full vessel into an empty one. And that is not what happens. Learners make learning.
How does it happen?
How
does
do
a
learners
child
make learning?
go from not reading to reading when he's at home without a formal program?
He looks at books, he looks at signs. I'm in the process of writing a book about the way this happens, and we get lots of letters of growing without schooling. Usually parents say, you know, all of a sudden we find this child knows something, and we don't know where she learned it or where he learned it. We didn't teach it. I taught myself to read by looking at signs on the streets of Manhattan, which is where I lived at that age. I looked at them and wondered about what they might mean, and I learned one, and then I went from that and figured out another. A lot of kids learn to read by being read aloud to. You know, their eyes are following the words, and they are hearing the story, and all of a sudden they find out that they know it. Learning is not the product of teaching. Now, the parents, this isn't to say the parents just put them in a corner and ignore them. They talk to them. They're part of the children are part of the family's life. They go with the parents where they go. They meet other people. You know, they're in the main sort of stream of life, but there's not very much formal instruction. Children don't learn to talk by formal instruction.